not involved in that. That's a local Texas race.
Did you endorse the Republican?
You mean I won by 17
You did.
and this person lost? Things like that happen. I'm not on the ballot, so you don't know whether or not it's transferable. But you know, you put the Democrats in, you'll end up with open borders again. You'll end up with crime all over the place.
President Trump warning Republicans after a Texas Democrat flips a state Senate district blue for the first time in more than 30 years. Here with what this means for the GOP ahead of the midterms, Fox News contributor and former Congressman Jason Chaffetz. Jason, good morning to you. So this is a Fort Worth area Texas state Senate seat, which is now blue for the first time since 1992. And the Wall Street Journal puts it this way. How does a Republican lose by 14 points in a safe conservative Texas state Senate seat that President Trump carried by 17 points in 2024? Answer: when there's a voter backlash against the Trump administration, notably its mass deportation debacle. So do you believe the Wall Street Journal is true and this could be a warning sign for Republicans come midterms?
No, that's a garbage analysis. If they go back and look at it, what happened in November is you had 2 Republicans and then you also had a Democrat. Nobody got the majority, so they did a runoff. And then this runoff happens. There's super bad weather there. There are 25,000 less people that get out and vote, and the Democrat squeaks by. It had nothing to do with the immigration policy. This is a state Senate race. They don't even get involved and engaged in that. But Republicans have to get out and vote, and they decided, hey, we're not going to do that, albeit the weather. Look, the Democrat won. He spent like $70,000, and the other 2 Republicans spent like $2.7 million. But Republicans still need to show up. But when you have 25,000 less people show up, guess what happens? Democrats squeeze through. So I think the answer in November will be quite different because they have to have another race that come November. But still, to suggest it has to do with immigration is just garbage analysis.
Okay, so you're right. This is a Texas state Senate seat. But let's talk about the House, the Congress in Washington for a moment, because since 1938, the party in control of the White House has lost House seats come midterm election time, all but 2 midterm elections. So right now, the House is at 218, 214. If Democrats do take back the lower chamber, Jason, what will President Trump's final 2 years in office look like?
It's not fun to have, have the White House and then have the other party controlling Congress. It's not where you want to be. And look, Republicans and Democrats, they're out there raising money. But if Republicans want to stay in charge, they have to actually get out and vote. And then they need to do what they said they were going to do. If Republicans will just do basic things like pass the SAVE Act and get rid of the zombie filibuster, things that Senator Mike Lee is championing, those types of things, then they're going to be fine. But they're going to get ticked off and not show up to vote if they don't follow President Trump's lead and they don't do Republican things that they campaigned on last election.
So we are right now in the midst of a partial government shutdown. We say partial, but it's a big part. It's 78% of the government, including some of our most important government agencies. There's going to be a blame game. Republicans are going to blame Democrats and vice versa. Do you think that happening right now could impact the midterm elections?
Yeah, it depends how long it goes on. I tend to think that Schumer, I would hope, would have learned his lesson last time. It's really up to Democrats. Republicans can get it close, but if they can't pass these other hurdles, then Democrats are going to have to go back and explain yet again why they thought it was better to shut down the government than keeping it open. It really is a Chuck Schumer question. It
certainly is. And Mike Johnson is saying, oh, my goodness, here we go again. And he's predicting the government to reopen tomorrow. So we'll be watching. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And what Bill was just referring to, guys, was this congressional race, this House seat in Texas. It was a Democrat seat, and then 2 Democrats were running for that seat. So non-controversial, although it does fill another Democrat spot, makes things even tighter for Republicans in Congress. But there is a state Senate race in Texas that just flipped from red to blue for the very first time since 1992. And there's a lot of focus today being put on that. And if that could be a prediction for how the midterm elections are going to go, albeit nationwide, this is a state race, but is there a correlation in terms of what we can see come November?
Yeah, so there's a lot when it comes to this race. So this race, SD 9, is right outside my house in Texas. that district, there was a heated Republican primary. And if you look at the numbers, if it would have just came down to the special election race itself, Republicans had two people in the initial race. One got 35% and one got 16%. And the Democrat in that race got 47%. So the Republicans won that. But since two Republicans, one ran in that race, the one that got the most votes went over to the runoff and could not get. It was a heated primary, a lot of mess back and forth. Couldn't get those voters to show back up. Percentage-wise, turnout for Republicans was only at 15%. So they didn't turn up. Now, to Brian, and I know Brian's going to make this point, if you look at the maps, the Hispanics that once supported Republicans, it's not looking too good. What you saw in Miami with a lot of the Latinos there is happening in Texas as well. So Republicans have a turnout issue. And they also have a Latino issue now and it's not about socialism. It's not about being tough on borders. It's the way that you do the policy, Brian.
Well, a couple of things. If you look at what happened in the governor's race in Virginia, the governor's race in New Jersey, how close it was in Nashville, even with a left-wing radical socialist who ran for a Republican seat over in Tennessee, who the Republican ends up winning, but by a much smaller margin. Republicans have not shown strength since Donald Trump won the election and they got the House and they got the Senate. So if you want to look at this and spin it, you're fooling yourself. Republicans, you're getting a warning sign. I think Karl Rove makes a lot of sense. The Republicans shocked the world. Donald Trump shocked the world by gradually getting more and more Hispanic votes in all three elections. The theory was, for the longest time, after the autopsy and Mitt Romney lost, was, hey, Republicans, if you talk tough on the border, Hispanics say you don't like Hispanics. Trump says, I don't think that's the case. It's just illegal immigrant criminals that are the problem, the people that are breaching our border. And it turns out he's right. They bought it. And when they sealed the border, nothing but approval. But it's the way, I think, in which it's being portrayed in the media doesn't help. And by the way, I think the raw way in which they're approaching it in these cities, like Chicago and Minneapolis, when you don't get cooperation from the mayors and the Border Patrol and ICE are left on their own, that's being interpreted as anti-immigrant, even though it should be anti-immigrant criminal. I think Tom Homan is changing the messaging on that, and I think he's changing the game plan on that. But if you look at some of the things that happened, I mean, Donald Trump won that district by 17. Yeah. This guy won by 14. He was outspent 10-1. So you can't even say that they overspent in the region. Early fundraising edges give Georgia and North Carolina. More money is going to the Democratic candidate in those tough Senate races than the Republican. So this is a wake-up call. They have all the tools. Are they going to use it, or are they going to snow themselves into thinking things are going to change when people realize how good the big, beautiful bill is? I think it's everything: messaging, operations, as well as policy. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, the latest Fox News poll showed that nearly 60% of Americans do believe that ICE operations have gone too far. So, you know, people like polls when they go in your direction. They don't like them when they don't. But those are the numbers. It's a snapshot in time, and that's the time we are in right now. So because Donald Trump won this exact area by 17 points, even though there are all these factors about, you know, two Republicans that led to a runoff and maybe some weather that came into play, it shouldn't have even been close. And because the Democrat won by 14 points, it should be a wake-up call for Republicans. I hope it is. I hope it is. The great thing about this race, though, if you're Republicans, though, our legislative session is every other year. That means this person is only going to be there for a year. They won't even be in session. These same candidates are going to face off in November again. So we'll see what happens then. But again, take all those data points. To Brian's point, you can't sugarcoat the numbers, though. Remember, they redistrict in Texas. Yeah. Believing that they're going to get the Hispanic vote, believing they'll got 5 or 6 more seats. If they lose Hispanic traction, all the redistricting or some of those houses on the redistricting are not going to go the Republicans' direction because they assumed they're going to continue to build on the Hispanic vote.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.